Welcome to the 8 Billion Project, where we're on a mission to make an impact by discovering and sharing the purpose of every person on this planet. I'm your host, Liza Florida. Enjoy today's episode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8 Billion Project. This is our inaugural episode where we're going to learn a little bit more about Liza Florida. And I'm playing guest host today. My name is Chris Decker of the Salescast podcast. And today we're getting to know a little bit more about your host, Liza Florida.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me here.
You bet. So tell me a little bit more about your vision for the 8 Billion Project and how that's started to take shape.
So I actually started off initially with a live streaming project on an app called Kumu, which started in the Philippines. And my objective for starting my live stream was because I wanted to reach out and connect with the people of my motherland in the Philippines. And it just seemed suitable at the time because of the pandemic. I couldn't physically get my body out to the Philippines, so I decided to start live streaming and gain an audience through there. In that process, what I was going to do is interview different people, like spotlight them, help raise awareness for certain causes and in organizations. But in that process, I did start to realize that it wasn't even just the Philippines that I was reaching out to. As I interviewed each person, I started to realize that the underlying message for even just some of the people in the Philippines actually could be something that the world, or in essence, anyone could listen to, and it could be very helpful for them. So that's the reason being that I decided to go ahead and start this 8 billion project.
So by 2023, the total global population is going to be 8 billion. That means 8 billion lives, 8 billion stories, 8 billion purposes that maybe are undiscovered. What kind of conversations are you going to be having?
Actually, that's a really good question. So it can be anything from, like I said, it can be someone from a family member just going through. I'll just give you examples of some of the interviews that I've had. I've had a good friend of mine that owns a BPO business. Another example is another friend of mine that is a daily city council member. Some other people are people in the marketing industry. Sometimes they can be like tech innovators. They could just be people like making a difference in the world, whether their impact is what they believe to be small. But really, if you just make a difference in one person's life, it truly is impactful. So my purpose is to tell as many stories or get as many people to come on this podcast show and just share their story. And for myself, if it's my ability or my skill sets to be able to ask the right questions, then the message gets out correctly.
Right. The ability to ask the right questions to the right people. And we were doing the math earlier, is that even if you were going one-to-one with trying to impact 8 billion people, once a week for the next 3 years would be 144 people, and they would need to each have 1.5 million followers that they're impacting too. So those would be unique. So we may not, to hit that exact 8 billion number, I think it's achievable. There's still some parts of the planet that don't have access to technology or ways of this kind of communication.
Correct.
But I still believe that the ripple effect can impact every single person, because you don't know if a missionary that's now going into an indigenous tribe has been impacted by somebody that was on your show and they listened to that and that helped them spark something in their life. I mean, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless. And it's even not so much maybe even hearing my stories. It's probably the vision of just being of service to others or extending that kindness, seeing that there is purpose in every person's life here on this planet. And it might not even be that they'll ever get to see a podcast show, but if, like what you're saying, it could be a missionary out there. And if, because he's he's on his purpose and on his mission, if he does the same, it just expands exponentially. And that's the purpose of 8 billion project.
It's an ambitious undertaking, but that has been the theme of our shows here with we're on a mission to work closely with the top 10 change makers globally to help 100 million people step out of isolation and into acceptance.
Right.
There's something interesting that happens when you hear someone else share the story that you thought was only uniquely your own, the same struggles, the same turbulence, sharing in the same wins. The worst thing that I've ever heard is someone sharing their dream and being told their dream is too big. There's no way you could do that.
Yeah. Oh, so are you trying to tell me my dream's too big and I can't do it?
No, I'm saying there might be some people out there that'll say that to you. And what do you have to say to them?
Oh, I understand. I mean, like, I understand that. However, it's, like I said, it's, there's 8 billion people. No two people, even if they're identical twins, have the same journey. I mean, once they're born, they have different lives. So that makes them so unique. So it doesn't, like, it might seem like physically impossible for me to tell 8 billion stories. However, the impact, like you were saying, we did the calculations, right? In terms of the number of people and the type of viewership that they need to have. And honestly, I mean, it's, even if it might seem impossible or it's too big a vision, in my efforts of trying to do something of greater purpose for either you sitting in front of me or like my viewers or even around the globe, it's worth the efforts for me.
Well, you were also sharing with me offline that if you're not able to, let's say you're not able to finish this in your lifetime, you could pass that on to somebody else.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I was just exercising yesterday. I was just like, 8 billion it's really a big, really big project to take on. However, if I don't get to tell the stories, I hope this makes it has some impact on other people's lives, that you'll start doing it. And then maybe one day you'll start telling stories, or the other person out there will start telling stories. And it just, like I said, it just exponentially gets bigger until it hits all 8 billion people.
So we know a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish here, but tell us a little bit more about Liza. What are you doing in life? What's been going on in this year, 2020? What a perfect year to launch something like this. Yeah. What's life been like for you? What are you noticing and what's going on?
So in terms of like career or just like on a personal basis, I can go anywhere with that. Career-wise, I do real estate, and that's residential resale, and I've been doing that since I was 18 years old. So, and that's a family business. And then I also have other investments in terms of like medical supply, import, export. However, this year, and I think that I'm pretty sure many people share the same sentiments, that because of the pandemic, it's forced a lot of people to really reflect on what's most important in life. And for me, as I started to nurture and spend time with myself, I decided that there was a greater purpose for me, which was to use my voice and help impact, even if it was 1, 5, 8 billion people, that I would at least make the effort in trying to achieve that, or making a difference even in one person's life. And if it means like putting myself out here and starting a podcast, and then even starting with a small interview, as time goes by, then I'm pretty sure that the different people that this would connect with will allow them to come out and share their own story. I'm totally going in a different tangent. Sorry.
No.
I kind of lost my train of thought.
No, that's perfect. Is that there's been a bit of a shift, at least it sounds like, in your life where, building up the self, and it seems like you've sort of, after reflection, turned toward others and have asked yourself, what kind of impact do I really want to make? Like, why am I on this planet?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's what you were saying too, right, Chris, is that we're living in an age of authenticity, right? What we've been using in the past has not been working for us. I would believe, as a society, even in sometimes the family unit. I think it's time in our lives that we start getting real with each other and start, connecting on such a deeper level where there's a lot of acceptance, where there's a lot of non-judgment. In doing so, I think that there's an energetic level or something that just takes momentum. And as you start doing this for like one person, start with yourself first, but even just one, you start impacting just your friends and family. It shows when you've really done the work inside, because you're a better person to everyone. And so even if the message goes out to just treat yourself better, that I'm pretty sure will really just change things as the energetic force takes course.
Absolutely. It sounds like you've done a lot of personal development work.
I have. It started. I think maybe I read the book Think and Grow Rich at 19, and if you actually read the book, it does have to do with monetary, like money. However, the message, the deeper message in there is a lot. It's beyond the money. It's
Well, you got to look at what money is, and so money is commonly you can call it currency, and a current is an energetic pool either way. Current in electricity, current in energy, current in a flow.
right.
Money as a currency is really, in my opinion, just meeting you where you happen to be energetically, what kind of flow of life you're in. And so in Think and Grow Rich, it is showing you how to elevate and grow and trust in sometimes the unknown, which requires faith.
Yes.
And money's a byproduct of that. It just happens to be the way we measure it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And on top of just starting to read Think and Grow Rich, I did personal development seminars through seminars, and life is just an ever-evolving journey. And it's not like you can sit there in a class and just learn everything. Sometimes there's even tools you'll learn in a personal development class that might not even click for you until 5 years later. It's where you are, because everything is from your perspective at the time of how you're perceiving it.
Yeah, how many times have you heard really, really good advice? This happened to me recently. I've always been told that the secret to being a good CEO is your habits. Your habits, your habits, your habits. You know what? I didn't believe that every single time I heard it. I just kept hearing it. And it wasn't until like literally a year that habits, and then as I started to examine habits and started to integrate new habits and saw the results of that it finally clicked. Oh, I guess it has to do with habits.
But don't you think, in a sense, though, Chris, that you made that real for yourself? The habits?
Right.
I mean, I know it
took Tony Robbins planting that seed 4 years ago for me to finally take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There, exactly. But for some reason, it stuck with you enough that later on down the road, it clicked for you or something like that. So that's what I'm saying. I could pick up Think and Grow Rich now and open up to a different chapter. The way I read it at 19 is absolutely a different way I'm reading it now.
So we've covered this vision and this mission that you're now on with the 8 Billion Project. We've learned a little bit more about what life is like for you and this change, this shift toward others and maybe even legacy, passing this down to someone afterward. what can people expect on this journey, those that are listening right now, or those that have maybe come in after episode 100 and they wanted to say, how did this start? And they've come back to episode 1. Like, this is a time capsule right now. What would you want to say to them?
Well, basically, in most cases, I think a lot of podcasters would want to automatically go for everyone that has the biggest influencing audience or the ones with the most followers. For me, it's really to get it could be anything from getting an ordinary person off the street, sitting down, having an authentic, genuine conversation with them, and asking them what their story has been, and genuinely taking taking interest in it. Because when you do ask the right questions, when you genuinely connect on even in just the heart space, you really will see there's a message and a purpose of every person's life. And that's in this, I mean, yeah, if this was a time capsule, I hope that I explained it right, but that's really the mission. Whether it's one person or whether it's 8 billion, I think it's worth doing this project, or at least, trying to go after it. So thank you for listening to today's episode. If it's moved you in any way, please review and share your thoughts, or text me your thoughts at 949-247-2800.